Hey, what's good? Welcome back to the Somatic series where I, a licensed therapist named Pierre, am using somatic psych theory to help people develop healthier relationships with themselves and eventually to build stronger communities. Congratulations on completing Unit 2, which was about learning and mapping your own autonomic nervous system. This chapter starts Unit 3, which will ultimately explain what trauma is from a somatic perspective, what triggers are, the concept of biological rudeness, what glimmers are, and how to regulate your nervous system out of survival mode through self-regulation and co-regulation. In this video, we're going to cover fear and anxiety and how it shows up in your autonomic nervous system as a foundation to explain trauma in later chapters. I found that it's easier to explain trauma from a somatic perspective if I start with fear and anxiety first. So by the time you even notice that you're angry or stressed, your nervous system has already started collecting information from inside your body and from the people, things, the energy in the room, the dynamics between people and the systems all around us. So now I want to add another layer to your understanding of neuroception. In those same seconds, not only is your autonomic nervous system quickly gathering information from inside yourself and from your environment, it's also comparing all of that information to anything that's happened to you in the past to quickly figure out, are you safe? Are you in danger? And what do we need to do? What has worked for us in the past? What has not worked for us in the past? What should we do now? I'm going to come back to this point about neuroception using the past when we talk about trauma. Fear is your body's physical fight-flight response to a danger that's right in your face. So with fear, these kinds of problems have a clear beginning and a clear end. Either you fight the lion, you run away, or it unalives you, or you catch the train, or you don't. Once the danger is over, assuming you're alive, your body can go back to its regulated ventral vagal state, either slowly on its own, or you intentionally regulating yourself, or you connecting with trusted community and co-regulating with them. Anxiety is your body having a physical fight or flight response just off the anticipation of something happening at some point in the future. So some examples of anxiety include worrying about how you're going to pay bills, stressing over a hectic or toxic workplace. Anxiety is that feeling of you don't know exactly when the shoe is going to drop. You don't know when the danger is really going to hit you. So you're either kind of ripping and running, can't sit still, trying to find safety, trying to find peace, or you're frozen and stuck and you can't move. From a somatic therapy perspective, your body really can't tell the difference between a problem that's right in your face, fear, and anxiety. Fear and anxiety feel exactly the same, and your body responds to it exactly the same. When it comes to fear, right, no problem. It has a beginning, it has an end, your body can then regulate itself, move on. When it comes to anxiety, it's not as cut and dry. You could end up being stuck in survival mode for years, either constantly or every single time that anxiety-provoking thing is brought to your attention, you could then be triggered and right back into survival mode all over again. If you're constantly being triggered like that, your body is eventually going to shut you down because our bodies were not meant to carry that level of stress for a long time. If you haven't already, I strongly suggest you check out the chapter where I talk about how our autonomic nervous system helps us move through our emotions and through stress. This ability that the nervous system has to help us process stress is a really major component of a skill called stress tolerance. Stress tolerance is usually defined as someone's ability to remain composed while dealing with stress. People's capacity for tolerating stress depends on their previous life experiences, their history of trauma, their current living situations, and their access to resources and community. Part of building stress tolerance as a skill is learning your body, learning what stress feels like physically to you, and learning how to support your body's natural processes for managing stress. Your vagus nerve helps you manage stress by activating or deactivating depending on the situation. When your vagus nerve is deactivated, then your body is able to kind of move and run and fight and do whatever it needs to do to get you out of that situation. When your vagus nerve is activated, then your body is brought back into regulation and you feel safe again. As I've said before, COVID damages the vagus nerve, meaning people could have issues managing their own emotions, dealing with stress, and de-escalating situations even after they've recovered from a COVID infection. All right, so to recap, when your autonomic nervous system recognizes danger, your prefrontal cortex turns off, i.e. your critical thinking, reasoning, planning, etc. turns off. Your vagus nerve relaxes. Your body releases cortisol and adrenaline to help you get to safety. And your whole body is alert and focused on the issue of addressing or avoiding the source of your stress. So ideally, you'd be able to regulate yourself, or you'd be able to co-regulate with your community. In the case of fear, you'd be probably regulating after the event has already passed by yourself or with your community. Or in the case of anxiety, you'd be regulating yourself or co-regulating with your community throughout the entire process of the stressful thing, because this is a longer-term problem. Regardless of whether you're regulating by yourself or regulating with others, this would reactivate your vagus nerve, turn your prefrontal cortex right back on, and return your body to a state of regulation and balance. However, on the flip side, if your body is not able to regulate itself, or you're not able to co-regulate, and your vagus nerve is not able to re-engage, so it stays deactivated, right? It stays relaxed. Then that sense of danger, that sense of fear, that sense of anxiety starts to overwhelm your autonomic nervous system. And then at that point, when your autonomic nervous system becomes overwhelmed, you what? You shut down, exactly. But what happens when the stress completely and totally overwhelms and overpowers your nervous system's ability to process it and handle it? That's called trauma. And here we are, we're finally at trauma. Congratulations. The next video in the Somatic series will finally cover trauma. You've been waiting for this, and we're finally here. If this video and this series has been helpful or interesting to you, please consider joining my $3 Patreon so I can continue to provide free somatic trauma-focused therapy to Black people. Thank you so much for your continued viewing of this somatic series. I appreciate it.